Let's talk about the crisis with the opposition now, talking about Ukraine, of course. And joining us is Shadow Minister for Policing, Sarah Jones. Hi, Ms Jones. Thanks for joining us on the programme this morning. How concerned is Labour this morning about what's happening on the Ukraine-Russia border?
Well, I don't think you can underestimate how serious the situation is. Over 130,000 troops gathered in Belarus and in Russia on the border with Ukraine. I don't think we've seen an amassing on that scale for decades. So it's a really difficult time. We support the government's attempts to use diplomacy and use all the armoury that they have in terms of economic and diplomatic responses to work with our allies, really important, with our NATO allies, with our European Union allies, and with all our allies across the world to sort of try and come together to use as much power as we can to persuade the Russians not to act. But as you know, this is a very serious time. The Prime Minister will be talking to his European colleagues this week. We know the Americans have been talking. We know that everybody is doing all that they can. We do think that we need to move much faster in terms of Russian money in London and make sure we are acting on that. And we do need to look at how much we rely on Russia across the European Union in terms of energy and other things. But this is a very serious time. We stand with the government on the attempts that they are making to ensure that this doesn't escalate further.
Talk to me about your brief as well, if you would. How happy are you to see Cressida go?
Well, we needed to see reform. I wouldn't say I'm happy. She's given decades of service to the police service, but there were a lot of issues that were raised from the murder of Sarah Everard, Bieber Henry, Nicole Smallman. We had a series of inquiries that really did question the Metropolitan Police in terms of institutional corruption. And then last week, in terms of misogyny and sexism and racism that we saw in a really horrific report. And I think the Mayor of London needed to be assured that action was going to be taken and that change was going to be made. And in the end, he lost confidence in Cressida Dick's ability to be that change. The question now is, this goes beyond the Met. This is a wider issue of policing culture. And of course, it comes on the back of years of cuts, of low prosecution rates and rising crime. So there is a big programme of reform that we want to see the Home Secretary lead in terms of training for police, in terms of what happens in misconduct cases, and in terms of vetting to get into the police force, in terms of their use of social media. And we need to look at all of these issues so that we make sure the police our police service is the best that it can be, which is what all good police officers want to see.
Talk to me about the Prime Minister. He's on his levelling up tour this week, we're told. He's up in Scotland, he's going to the northwest of England as well. Downing Street party's not even in his rear view mirror anymore. Isn't it time to just move on?
Well, he has to fill in his form that he's been sent by the Metropolitan Police this week. There are many cases of parties that look like they were breaking the rules, and that is very serious. If he misled Parliament, then he has a duty to come and address Parliament and to resign if that turns out to be the case. His levelling up agenda is words and not action. We need proper investment in our towns, in our coastal towns, in our industrial towns across the country. We need to see investment in infrastructure. We need to look at business rates so that all those entrepreneurial businesses that want to set up in our towns that can't because they're stuck paying huge amounts of business rates are given some relief. There is a whole raft of activities that we need to see that this Prime Minister has not done. And going around the country and talking about levelling up is not going to do it for people who need that investment.
Did I hear a dog in the background?
We have a new dog. He's a rescue puppy. We've had him for 2 weeks, and I'm trying very hard, but he sometimes barks.
What's his name?
Loki, and he's very sweet, but he's a bit barky.
Oh, that's all right. We love dogs on this show. You're obviously new to our work. He's welcome on the show whenever. It's good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.